Bobby. It's time for a crane dip. Come on! Come on! Come on! Dude, I felt like crying. I felt like laughing. I said, I got to call my Bubby. God, this deer weighs 275 freaking pounds.
I was like, well, if I throw a mic on, then I can help others the way that these people have all helped me.
Born in the heart of the Pennsylvania deer camp, with the help of experts, friends, and local legends, we bring you valuable knowledge and powerful stories for your hunting adventures. Welcome to the East Meets West Hunt Podcast with your host, Beau Martonik.
Hey Siri, turn on Do Not Disturb.
Dude, why wouldn't you just turn it on yourself?
It doesn't have that option on my screen for some reason.
You got some high-speed, low-drag shit over there.
Well, we're back. I think the Untamed guys here, specifically Josh, but now Cole's being in this, probably are going for the record of the most podcasts recorded on the East Meets West Hunt podcast.
Really?
I would think so, for the amount of times we've done recordings here between you and Zach and now Cole.
Well, I mean, that's not a bad thing.
No, I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't say it is at all.
You get your first exclusive stuff, man, the lowdown.
Yeah.
Before anybody else.
Nobody even knows what really happened.
Yeah, I mean, Clint's been texting me, like, what's been going on? We got to get hooked up. Clint's going to be upset, dude.
Well, I was gonna say some bad things about Clint, but we're good buddies, so I can't do that.
He's been chasing a bruiser.
Oh yeah.
I mean, an absolute gargantuan.
I don't know if you can say that.
Well, I said it. It's huge.
I know. I've been talking to him too.
People will start following him.
Yeah, I know. They will too. But anyways, I'm back down in my second home in West Virginia, chasing some bucks around during the rut and having a good time this week. I'll tell you that.
The deer seem to be moving good.
Yeah, they definitely seem to be moving good.
Yeah, it seems like every day that, pretty much every day that anyone's going out there, at least having some sort of encounter.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody's gone out since Tuesday of last week.
And really not got into
and not
anything.
seen like one deer that you could go after.
Yeah,
and they're not monsters, but they're good deer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're seeing a lot of good rut activity. I got on a phone call yesterday morning, I think, with the Element Wild, Tyler Jones, and I can't remember Casey's.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. They're with Meat Eater.
Yeah.
Element.
The Element.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, we did a rut report for West Virginia, and they were telling me what's going on out there. And I said, we just got back a week ago. So we were in Kansas. What is today?
The November 19th.
What day did we come back, Cole? I mean, they're kind of running all together. But
we got back the morning of the 10th
No, we did not, because that's Marine Corps birthday, and I was in Kansas Marine Corps birthday. We got back the 12th. Or did we get back? No, we did not get back Veterans Day either.
I thought we got back on the Marine Corps birthday.
Are you sure?
I think Cole might be right on this.
Because I looked at the footage folders today, and the video that we dropped tonight was the 6th.
Cole, you're right.
That's what I thought.
That's not going to happen very often.
Yeah.
That I'm going to admit that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, we got back on the 10th. I thought I killed on the 10th. But the last day we were there, so I killed on the 9th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we drove through the night into the 10th.
That's right. But November 9th in Kansas, it was fire.
Yeah, that best it can get.
and we'll get into the Kansas trip.
Yeah.
But fast forward, just kind of coming across the country, like Cole said, we drove through the night and got back here on the 11th and went right back to hunting, and then seemed like there was some activity, bucks moving, bumping, chasing, not hard chasing, young bucks showing up, big bucks showing up every now and then. But then Friday, the 15th, it seemed like it was on like Donkey Kong, and it was happening.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I mean that those dates seem to always line. I mean, you told me that from year one, why I started kind of coming down those dates, but it seems like the first day I show up every year is like it's really turning on right around that time.
And it seems like since the 15th, now I will say the activity in the evenings has slowed way down from what we've seen and from what our cameras are showing us. But like morning activity has been really good, but I think that's because of they're chasing a lot. Cameras are saying they're chasing a lot at nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're coming into the morning, and then not a whole lot of activity. You got like 30 minutes before dusk.
Yeah, we really haven't got into anything at all in the evenings.
No.
Other than that one night that Mac and Brett chased that one buck. I think that's like the only, like yesterday, Mac, Brett, Dalton and I were in there and saw several shooter bucks right in the morning. Then saw another one at like 10:30 that looked like he was going to bed. We were pretty sure he bedded on a bench, and Brett and Mac sat in there all day and didn't see a deer. They saw a couple deer way across the mountain on the other side, but like they hung in there all day, and like it was on fire in the morning, and there was pretty much zero movement in there in the evening.
It was the same for me yesterday.
Yeah.
I was on fire. I laid in there with them and right in the bedding area, and there was some movement for does and stuff around, but it wasn't the rut action that I'd seen in the morning, and and we weren't even in the same area. We were a mountain or so over, but still, it was just. I mean, the weather I think has a lot to do with that right now, being in the 60s and in the daytime and everything, and I'm sure that has some impact on them for sure. But the mornings have just been
great.
Been great. We did have some action this evening. Me and you did.
That, and I think it's weather induced.
Yeah, we got some rain and colder.
Yeah, the temperature was dropping this evening. It was misting. I mean, heavy rain towards the end, but I think that with the precipitation and the temperature drop, I think it got deer on their feet. But it wasn't. Yeah, we saw a couple deer. At 4?
Yeah,
but at 5, we saw a lot of deer.
Yep.
We only saw 3 or 4 deer at 4 o'clock, but then at 5, I mean, running all that real quick where we were at and just checking, we probably saw 14, 15 deer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that were up on their feet. But surprising, I think I was telling Cole I was telling Mac, I think we saw 8 or 9 does that did not have a buck with them.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, one group that had
6 does.
Yeah, what we've been seeing really is like even if we do see does and they're by themselves, within a half hour, a buck's finding them. Like yesterday, we weren't seeing any deer, and all of a sudden we saw 2 bucks come over the top, and then all of a sudden they bumped 4 does that must have been bedded right there, and then it was just a mad chase. Like they're finding them.
Yeah.
If they're not with them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it is, I mean, that's kind of typical for the rut, is just like, it'll seem like, all right, everything's crazy and it's wild at 1 second, and then you might go on the other side of the ridge and it's just like, is a rut even here?
Right.
That's just kind of the nature of the rut, and I kind of love that because you just don't know at any time when
it could happen.
It's so crazy, like with the glassing thing, like just watching how it unfolds is like, I've done some glassing, but not obviously in mountains like this. And like 2 days ago, we saw a buck, and he was acting like it was the end of September. He bedded down 30 minutes after daylight and was laying there for 2 hours. And Brett and I went to make a move on him, and Max said all of a sudden a doe came trotting on the bench above him, and all of a sudden it just went, and he was full out chasing her for the next 2 hours. Like, he was just calm as a cucumber. And then that doe wandered in there, and he was full on rut, which was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. But it's been pretty good. But I want to transition a little bit and talk about you guys' trip in Kansas, because there's some more stuff to talk about in West Virginia. But I guess I'll ask you, Josh, would you rather stay on the West Virginia stuff right now and kind of go into that, or go to Kansas?
Yeah, let's roll with Kansas, because I mean it was a great trip. You know, ups and downs, and we were in deer, so. Let's go to Kansas, and then we can circle back.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
If that's cool with you.
Yeah.
You're the mediator here, man.
Yeah. I'm in your studio.
Yeah.
We're actually sitting on my bed right now.
That's right.
This is a comfy couch.
I know. I do sleep pretty well.
I love these leather couches that have that cool feeling to them.
Yeah,
that's the best.
Helps you sleep. Before we get into that, I do got to say, for some reason, this is attached to a machine shop down there. Last night, like, people were working all through the night, and the backup alarms and
beating and banging.
Oh, beating and banging and everything else. And
it will keep you up sometimes.
Yeah, once I fell asleep, I was out. I didn't notice it, but it was at the beginning. I was like, man. Because I hadn't heard it, but it's been the weekend since I've been staying here, so that made sense.
Well, normally when you're on the November grind, it's not hard to fall asleep in the evenings.
No, getting up super early, getting out there, but I mean, this is extremely comfortable compared to what you guys had in Kansas from your sleeping situation, which we'll get into. But so I want to hear, Josh. You went to Kansas. That was your first time hunting out there, right?
Yeah, and I had plenty of points. I'd been buying preference points, never applied, just due to timing of not being able to go or plan a trip. And I had built up 5 points, and then plus this year applying, and kind of had 3 options and talked to a lot of people about it. I was either going to apply. My first thought was to apply for mule deer in Kansas, and I would have been a shoe-in with my points. They give out 125 permits, but then talking to some guys that have done some Western Kansas mule deer hunting said, you can find a good mule deer, but it's tough. And knowing how you hunt, you should experience the whitetail rut in Kansas, and doing what we do,
the ground
hunting.
Yep.
And then, so I kind of scratched. So I went back and forth with the mule deer, because I'd love to mule deer hunt on the ground. And then I said, well, I kind of like the looks of that early muzzleloader season too, and I knew I would have been a shoe-in for it. But then talking to people, talking to the guys at THP, I'd reached out to Lee. They were like, man, it's just miserable hot, And they, talking to THP, they were like, dude, you got to go in November for the Kansas rut and then hunt on the ground. You got to experience it. So ended up just applying for archery tag. I had kind of picked the units that we were in, not exactly due to knowing anything, but just listening to everybody. All your East Coasters apply, and whoever draws, they don't want to drive the extra hours across Kansas for the trip. Everybody applies for those Eastern units. So we didn't, I didn't apply for the Eastern units, ended up with some further units, and got the tag, and then we set a date for when we were going to leave. I wanted to be out there because we normally take a Kentucky trip, and we took the Kentucky trip, but didn't do any good. And then a front was coming in Kansas, and it was 85 degrees in Kentucky. So Cole and I were like, if we drive all night tonight, we can be there hunting in the morning during this front. And that's pretty much what we did. We drove till, I think, 3, 2. I really don't know. I mean, on these trips, when you start going, you've done it before. You lose track of time, dates, days.
Yeah, you lose track of what happens on certain days.
Yeah.
But we were both cross-eyed, delirious, and we pulled off and slept on the side of the road and said if we wake up at, I think
it was 4 or something, because it got.
That's right.
Or maybe not even 4. I think you didn't get daylight till almost 7:30, so maybe it was like 5.
No, it was 4:30 because we had 2 more hours to drive to work.
Yeah.
And we had kind of been looking at e-mapping, and we had some, Kansas has the walk-in areas. They got public land, then they got walk-in areas, then they got sign-in walk-in areas. And so we stayed away from the sign-in walk-in areas, not because they didn't look good. We just didn't want to have to deal with it.
Yep.
So we marked some walk-in areas and got there the first morning after driving all night. It poured the rain, but that front was there. And that was a Thursday, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really good end of October. I think it was I think
it was Halloween.
It was Halloween.
Yeah.
You were right. It was we checked some walk-in areas, and Cole and I talked about it, and I just want to get this out there, and I agree with the walk-in areas, and I don't know what the incentive is for the landowners.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it is to give up land for the outdoorsmen, but for deer hunters, if we went to some walk-in areas that would be 90 acres, 120 acres, and it's all cut crop, got no benefit, fields. no benefit to an outdoorsman, but they're probably getting some sort of credit. I don't know how it works in Kansas.
Yeah,
but I don't know if the walk-in areas are controlled as much as they should be.
Yeah, as far as the landowners should have certain requirements to either keep crop to a certain date or leave so much up, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with we talked about the cattle, we just started, eventually after the first day, if we got to a spot and there was cattle, we left. We just were going. Because we checked some spots with cattle.
Nothing.
And the deer just aren't going to be in there.
So for anybody listening, walk-in areas are private land that is open to public hunting. And how do you get access to it? Do you have to sign in somewhere, or can you just go in?
No, you can just
walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just walk in. It's on all the mapping apps. It shows you where all those areas are. But Cole was right. We started. Just example, we started in the far northwest corner, and that's where we started our hunt, and we started moving south and east, throughout the next several days. But when we started, we checked these walked-in areas, and they're big enough for Cole and I that he'd scout one way and I'd scout one way, and then we'd meet back up at the truck. And then he's right. When we got into places with cattle, there's no deer. And if there was, there's very little sign.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So we said, okay, anything with cattle or cattle pasture, if we drive by and it's cattle or cattle pasture, we're out. We're not even checking it. Because that's just something we saw in the first couple hours. And we're speed scouting. I'm not carrying a bow. All we're doing is going through them and checking. And so, we're seeing sign, but we're not seeing a whole lot. So, Ted was out there about this time a couple of years ago. So, Cole reached out to Ted, and I reached out to Nate and identical draw.
Yeah.
And I reached out to them, and I was like, man, because they're right there in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what should we be seeing? What kind of where are we at out here for sign wise? And he was like, if you're not seeing scrapes right now, you need to check. You need to find another area because our scrapes are getting hit pretty hard here. So me and Cole talked about it, and we're like, okay, now we kind of know what we're looking for a decent area.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we blew through a bunch.
Yeah, and we also weren't seeing like.
Yeah.
We kind of had I think we both kind of had this perception that we were going to be driving and seeing deer off the road, just like in like the whitetail adrenaline videos and, and stuff like that. Like they're glassing deer off the roads, and we were in areas that we could glass a lot, and we weren't really seeing deer.
See acres and acres forever.
And we weren't seeing deer, and it just felt like we were just in like a lower density area of deer, and I mean, I feel like we've kind of figured that out like right away. Like
fast.
If there was deer there, we should have been seeing doe. We saw, I don't know, 4 or 5 deer that morning, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think that's just a huge misperception. Like growing up, watching cable television and seeing these guys hunt Kansas. They're not hunting public. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that there's not slammers on public, because there is. It's Kansas. But like my perception is like when it started cracking daylight, I mean, you could just feel you're in deer country. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, we were stoked. I mean, we were all jacked up and tired as hell, delirious, but like we had come to the front and locked in.
You were locked in.
Yeah. And but we weren't seeing, like, you could see for miles. And even in these timber draws and stuff, like that morning when we were driving the roads, we weren't seeing any deer.
Weren't seeing any tracks on the road, really.
Yeah, and it just rained. So I think it was 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we drove back to an area, and it was good drainage both ways. There was actually 3 timber drains. We drove all the way out, and there was one big timber drain. It was like a big T. And then we came back, and I said, Cole, let's just run. You run that way, I'll run this way, and we'll meet back here. Hell, I didn't go 75 yards, and I whistled at Cole. And he looked, and I was like...
on up the ground.
Yeah, like there's the first scrape, and like when I say it's fresh, I mean it was done that morning. I mean it's ground coffee.
Yeah, because it had rained.
Yeah,
all the way until almost daylight, really. Yeah. And you could tell that when it happened, the ground had dried out on top already. Because it was,
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
With that coffee ground dirt on it, so it had to have been done in the daylight that morning.
Oh, absolutely. And I went another 15 yards. There was another one. And then, so I went ahead and ran that, and Cole ran his side, and he texted me and said, man, I got a fresh scrape over here too. And he sent a picture of a buck track. It was like the size of my hand that was fresh in the mud. And I ended up running 16 fresh scrapes up that drain. And we got back to the truck, and Cole's like, I got some fresh stuff. And I was like, dude, I said, let's get our stuff on. Like, we're going to hunt now.
Yeah.
And he was like, awesome. And I said, there's a couple trees over there. We don't even need sticks. We'll just climb up in the tree and set our platforms and get in our saddles and see what happens.
So, just a quick question. So basically your idea going when you went into Kansas, never been there before, was to cover as much ground as you possibly could, check as many areas, and with it being kind of open country with just basically timber just in the drains, like in some of those areas, is speed scout them and trying to find the best sign before you really started hunting. And it kind of limits it down to where you can scout based on the timber, like, because you're not going to see scrapes out in the open.
Yeah, and like we knew, like that area that we found, like we knew that buck that did that was in there because it was like the only area that he could be laying was on that walk-in. There was just nothing.
There was absolutely nothing outside of these 3 drains. Nothing. I mean, for miles.
So how did you know when to stop? Because I'm assuming you didn't just run out the other side of the drain once you started finding that.
I went, I followed it, kept on following it to the scrapes. And then I went to the last scrape, which didn't make it all the way to the head of the drain. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, so he must have went in somewhere right here. Somewhere in plus or minus 50 yards of the last scrape. And there was no more, I followed his tracks. There was no more tracks past that scrape. Like, he went into the drain there.
Okay.
And then Cole had, were your tracks going away from us or coming to us?
Mine were going the other way.
Yeah. So I said, Cole, we're going to hunt this side. We ended up getting into some scrub tree, big limby thing. Cole ended up having to give me a boost because I thought I could climb the tree, but he ended up having to.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah. He had to, get down and give me a lift.
Even though he could have just carried one 1-pound stick in there.
Yeah.
Easier.
No reason to do that.
No. Let's not do that.
No. So we got everything hung. We're about 4 or 5 foot off the ground, 6 foot. And it's slow as hell. And Cole sees a doe pretty early. And that's like the only deer. And then I'm just looking around and bam. I said, Cole, big buck. He was silhouetted, sun setting. And that's something. We still don't really know what he was chasing because we thought he was chasing a doe, but it wasn't a doe. But, man, he comes barreling in. And to like 125. And then looks like he's going away from us, and I snort wheezed. And looked, and I was like, Cole. I was like, he's coming. Like you threw a big crankbait out there to a bass and just hooked him and just start reeling him in. Like, he's coming. I'm like, oh, God.
This is Kansas.
Yeah.
Day one.
Day one, man. We might be going home tomorrow. Negative. So, a real opportunity, though, and, it just didn't work out. He came to 40 yards, and I'd ranged. He was coming at us, and he started skirting around us. And Cole said, hey, I think I hear another grunt. I thought I heard another deer grunt. I was like, I don't know. Cole has, like, sonar hearing. I'm serious. Like, he'll
That is probably my best attribute in the woods is my ears for some reason.
Yeah. Oh, no, they're like beacons. Like, it's crazy. And like this deer comes to the 40, I got like a 10-yard window. So I got a pretty big window to shoot, but I didn't have a 10-inch window in the tree. So I pulled back and I twisted the wrong way in my saddle, so I didn't have no slack in my tether.
Okay, yep.
You know what I mean? So instead of me twisting to the inside, I twisted to the outside without having enough slack. So that had me bound up. I pulled back, and like the deer's right there. Broadside. It's unbelievable. And the bow's hitting one limb. So I dropped the bow down, but then I can't get it level. I'd be shooting, cockeyed.
Yep.
And just didn't feel comfortable. So the deer, I never did stop the deer. I was going to have to stop him because he was just kind of just walking, and never did stop him, but just let him go. He walked away from us, and I was like, daggone, man. And it never can happen that way. You know, first evening. I mean, it does happen a lot for people, but so we're sitting there and just kind of talking about it. And we get out of camera light, and I'm starting to put stuff up. And Cole's like, Josh, there's a deer right here. And I said, where? He said, right here. And I kind of look, and I see the silhouette. And I said, oh, I see. And I put my binos, and he's not 15 yards.
Yeah.
And I put my binos up, and I went, oh, yeah, he's a big buck too. And so there's a big 10-point standing there. And he ended up, I don't know if he saw us in the tree, silhouettes, but he ended up blowing and running off. But so after the first day, we're like all jacked up.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we found the honey hole.
Yeah, this is it, man. We're going to kill a deer right here.
Yeah.
Well, we went back in the next morning and didn't see it.
Hunted the next morning and the next evening and didn't see a deer.
Nothing. Zero. And so at that point, we were like, back to the drawing board. Let's move.
Yep.
Even in between the day, like the middle of the day, we hunted that morning, didn't see anything. We busted it out of there, and we ran probably 100, 120 miles that day, and then ended up back there to hunt that evening.
In the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're running and just checking other stuff midday.
I didn't know if you and Cole went for a jog.
No.
Quick 120.
No. That's out of my wheelhouse. You know what I mean?
I think that's out of everybody's.
So we went and checked some other areas, and then ended up back there that evening. And then once we didn't see any deer there, we scratched that and was like, hey. And Cole and I both agreed that there just wasn't a lot of deer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're just not seeing the deer. So, and we're sleeping in the truck, mind you. Cooking. I mean, we're living out of the truck.
Yeah.
Cole is used to this. Okay? He's a front seat lover. I mean, like,
I'll sleep in the front seat for 2 weeks. Be fine.
yeah. My big ass. I took the back seat. It was okay. The first night. Second night, it was okay. Third night, legs start cramping. I think I kicked the shit out of Cole. I don't know. Cole said, man, I woke up and I was like, man, I didn't sleep very good at all. Cole said, I didn't either. And I knew I kicked the shit out of him.
Really, the snoring got me that night because he had to lay on his back because of his leg cramps.
Oh. What, did you put your feet up on the window?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to, it's a wonder. I kept on thinking, man, I'm going to push this window. I'm going to shatter it because I'm trying to push to get to curl my feet up because my calves were cramping bad and to get them unlocked. So, golly, was it the third day? No, I know what it was. In between the second day, one of the drives was Cole had seen an area and he's like, man, this stuff looks pretty good. And we had gone to check some walk-in areas.
There's hunters there.
And there was hunters. We went to Speed Scout, and I didn't find anything, some little bit of sign. And he said, well, I saw a hunter. And we saw 2 other vehicles around that area. We were like, okay, scratch this one.
Yep.
Went to another walk-in, hunters. Scratch it. We don't come back here. Just because we don't want to deal with the pressure.
And there's so many places to go.
Yeah.
There's no reason to hunt on top of anybody and ruin anybody else's hunt. We can find areas that don't have hunters.
That's one thing I will say is, you don't, if there's other people there, let them be. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because there are some there are some rude people out there that don't have like public land etiquette. That are just they just got no manners.
Well, you experienced that, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. So that day that we had made our run checking, we found an area that I sat there, Cole worked a little bit, and I fixed a hot lunch because we had kind of decided that because of the rat race when you're coming in at nighttime, we would rather get to sleep pretty fast. Mm-hmm. That we'd cook a hot lunch and then have cold sandwiches for dinner. But we cooked hot lunch in the day, have a real good meal in the middle of the day.
Yep.
Because there wasn't any action going on in the middle of the day. So we kind of changed our eating strategy to where we'd have one good hot meal and then we'd have a quick, sandwiches and chips or something for dinner.
Yep.
And get to sleep. Well, I was cooking lunch. We were kind of checking out this and it was public land.
We really didn't think anything about it. We just pulled in there to park. And then we were both sitting there like, well, this kind of looks like there could be some bucks out there. Like it was just nothing. It was just CRP grass, and it really was like, I think, designed for pheasant hunting, bird hunting, like that type of thing. Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's what it says on the WMA. Like that's what it's for, is a lot of bird hunting.
Okay.
And there was 3 or 4 creeks running through there, but it was all CRP. I don't know what that woody thicket stuff is that they got in Kansas. But it's pure hell. It's like kudzu, but it's wood.
And the fact that you're saying that based off some of the areas you hunt in West Virginia.
Oh no, it's thick. Like it'll hang you up.
I don't know what that stuff's called either.
I don't either. It's
I'm sure someone listening know exactly.
I hope that they tell me so I can use it in my stories. Because I'm just saying it's thick shit.
Yeah, but it definitely looked like something that we hadn't seen before, just like habitat wise, and it was like you could see for like 3 miles.
Yeah.
Of just CRP and just thickets and creek bottom,
okay.
But no trees. And where we were was the high spot where we ended up glassing.
We were at the highest elevation of that area, and then we hunted that we drove all the way back up north, hunted that evening, and said, scratch this place, may come back later on, let's go down there. And I forget where, I mean we slept, I know where we slept that night. We ended up at that camp.
Loves.
No. Mm-hmm. That night?
Yeah, the campground was the night before. We slept at that Loves.
Yeah. There you go. See, I don't even know. So we slept at the truck stop, and then we showed up at that area we wanted to start glassing, and set Cole up, and I said, hey, I'm going to drive the perimeter of this section of land, and hell, I hadn't gone half a mile.
Yeah.
And it got to where we could see, and Cole texts me and says, hey, I got a shooter. I was like, sweet.
It was like one of those deals where like I set my tripod up, just had my spotter sitting there and was getting my stuff situated. And I just went like this and leaned in, and my spotter was right on a big buck. He was right in the center of it.
Yeah. And
like, it
was crazy.
That's awesome.
And so we get up there, and we're watching these deer, and the one deer we lost, we didn't know what happened to him.
Ended up being 2 shooter bucks.
Yeah,
the one I originally saw we lost, but then another one was with a doe. We were able to keep track of him.
Yeah.
Okay, and so in that spot, that was the place that you were saying that you didn't think there'd really even be deer. You just happened.
No, we thought we just pulled in there to cook lunch.
Okay, gotcha.
And we were looking, and we were like, man, this could be kind of bucky.
Yeah.
A lot of people might overlook this because there is zero timber.
No, nothing to get up in the tree.
There's zero timber.
Yeah, you gotta wonder with those deer, like in the hot sun and everything
Oh
else.
no,
like,
Bubby, they're definitely shaded
okay,
thickets.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what it is, but there's definitely a place. But it just looked like a place that the rut would happen, really, is what I felt. It's like I hunted Oklahoma last year, and it looked a lot like where I got into deer last year in Oklahoma. It's kind of what came to mind when I first saw it. It was a sweet area. I really liked that place.
And we could see, from our glassing spot, we could see 3/4 of it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know what I mean?
You don't even have to walk it because you're able to cover it with your glass.
That's right. And so we did that for even watching those deer, and then we watched the one bed. And then Kevin Paul, was out in Colorado too, and you know, he was at turkey camp with Just Hunt Club this last year. So and we got to hunt with KP a couple of days. He filmed us, and great guy. He was in the area, not in the area.
He was 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And he drove up to spot and help us out.
Dang, that's awesome.
Yeah, Cole had reached out to KP, and he's like, "I'm on my way." And I said, "Well, we're 1,900 yards from the deer right now, so we're going to go ahead and start moving. This is the point that you glass from. This is where, you know, we pretty much had that deer not pinpointed, but a good area where he was, because I drove out to the side, I drove out back.
Just trying to get eyes on him from all angles.
Well, the
couldn't really
the
tell how
lake,
far he was.
Yeah. So I'm going to the back, and Cole's like, "You're in line with me now. You're in line with me, the deer, and you are in line." And I'd say, "Okay, get your compass, and then shoot." And I'm going to get a compass shooting back to you and tell you how far that I think it is, and you tell me how far. So we ended up coming up with about 1,900 yards. And it worked out good. I mean, he was right there within 100 yards. And we started moving, and then KP got there, which it's hard to look back that far. So KP is pretty much just glassing to see if make sure we don't lose him.
Yep.
And we see the deer get up at 100. He's probably 80, 100.
100 probably.
Probably 100, maybe 125. The damn land out there is so deceiving.
He ends up being way closer than what we thought. Like
He was bad at-
we thought he was right under a tree, and he was probably 150 yards in front of the tree that we thought he was under, because it's just flat.
Yeah.
It just looks like.
And it's like the thickets roll together, but like the thicket we thought he was in, he was never even close to that thicket. He was in front of that thicket,
Okay.
probably 100 yards, 125 yards. Well, we saw him, and we didn't see the doe, because we thought we actually thought he had come up to this thicket. But this was the actual thicket he actually bedded in. We thought he was in the back thicket, but they all blend together when you're looking at them.
Oh, yeah, especially from
You know
that far away.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was kind of wild. And honestly, where we were looking from, it looks like we're looking at him. And this thicket, it looks like we're looking at the thicket horizontally.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But once we get there, that thicket is running vertical.
Huh.
It's weird.
It's
like an optical illusion.
Really, really weird. But it taught us a lot, which helped us later on in the week. So ended up, the deer got up. We saw him bound off, but didn't really know if he was chasing a doe or what happened. So we kind of, not just like bulldozed in there, but we kind of got out of our sneak, and we're just taking our time. And then I hear something, I look, and that son of a gun is 30 yards to my left. And then, needless to say, we didn't get a shot at him. The doe was in that thicket too. The doe left, he left. That was the end of the hunt. But what we did learn was when we saw the buck take 2 bounds, all he did was bound up out of the thicket and then bound back into the thicket because there was actually a dike. Once we got back there was a dike that you cannot see, but there's like this. When I say a dike, it's like 2 or 3 foot difference elevation.
Okay.
That goes all the way around that thicket. What actually splits the 2 thickets the back thicket and the front thicket that we thought the deer was in. He was actually in the front thicket, but all we saw was that deer jump up out of the thicket and then back in the thicket. We thought he ran off.
Yeah.
So we shit to bed on that. And then KP was there, so we go back, get with KP, spot the original buck later on that night.
Like in the same spot that we just stalked the one buck.
In the same
freaking spot.
same.
So he
freaking-
was there the whole time.
Oh, he probably never got up.
Yeah, he probably just let us walk past him.
Yeah. Or we were just being by God stealthy like we are.
That's probably what happened.
Yeah. I mean, we can outsmart deer.
Yeah.
But we spotted that deer and like KP drove 2 hours and we took a hunting afternoon from him and I was like, KP, you go stalk it. I'll glass and keep up with the deer.
Yeah.
Never could catch up with him. And did we hunt there again?
Yeah, we hunted there that morning, and then we decided KP was hunting in another area, and he was seeing like just a lot of deer, like from the road and in the areas he was hunting. So he was like, maybe you guys should just check out kind of in the general area I'm in. So he started taking off that way, and we kind of were just behind him. And then we saw a couple things on the map we wanted to check out, and we ended up walking in and scouting a piece, and I found a sign with like the same thing we did the first time, 15 fresh scrapes that had just been hit.
Yep.
And we ended up hunting it that night.
Well, before you cut off there, I'm going to tell you what public land etiquette is. So he goes one way, I go one way. I found good sign, but he found much more good sign.
Mm-hmm.
We go to the parking area. We're sitting there, getting our stuff on. A truck pulls up, 2 boys from Michigan. I can't remember their names. I got one of them in my phone. They pull up and go, hey, y'all going in there? We're like, yeah, we had planned on going in there this evening. They were like, okay. Hey, I got a tree stand back there in the back. That's mine, but don't mind a bit. Good luck. We'll just hunt over here across this other side. Dudes were super nice. We exchanged numbers. They kept up with us all week, asking how we were doing, if they'd done any good back in that area. But we had got there, we hunted. They didn't care for us hunting that evening. But then we decided, hey, boys got a tree stand back here.
Yeah. It was kind of like a family deer camp that they had going. It was like 2 brothers, a cousin, and their dad were all there hunting together.
Nice.
And it just kind of felt like they were in that area already, and like it was really no
so after
point
we
in us
hunted that
sticking
evening,
around.
we were like, let's get out of here. So we didn't go back there, and they didn't care that we were in there for that first evening, and it was great, and we left, and it was a really good-looking area.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah. Didn't they end up shooting one?
They shot at one. Yeah, it was a big buck.
Really?
Yeah. But then we found a lot of the same that kind of open land that we'd come from.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a good looking area. And we saw a bunch of deer.
Yeah.
That morning. But it's like, all right, we didn't see any big bucks, but then I was asking Cos, like, dude, like there's some deer here. We're seeing deer, but like, if those are big bucks over there, how are we going to get to them?
It was just like a jungle. Like you could just tell it would be over your head everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you it'd be like the woolly swamp, man. You go in, but you ain't coming out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how you get in, I was like, we need to bounce. And so we'd leave in there and found that other area that we couldn't hunt with northeast wind.
Yeah. We scouted another walk-in area and found a bunch of really good sign and kind of just put it in our back pocket. And we're like, once the wind's right, we could come back up here if we wanted to.
Yeah.
When you were saying like the big sign that you're finding, obviously scrapes you're talking about, but were you finding bigger rubs too? That was like indicating
that was probably the best big sign that we found. And I'm talking about trees that were 6 to 9 inches, and I mean grubbed.
And then as you were talking about the tracks earlier too, was that area, was it easy to find tracks? Was there like mud and stuff that you could get into and see?
A lot of the fields are plowed and
Oh, that's nice.
Well, dude, that area where the big rubs was, it looked like a giraffe walked through there.
Yeah.
A track, I'm telling you. It looked like it was a 9-inch hoof.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just coming through just huge.
Just a hammer.
Oh, you knew it was a hammer.
Yeah.
Knew
Yeah.
it.
I love that fact. Like, like say, I love using trail cameras and stuff, but when you go into an area where you don't have trail cameras or you can't use them even there, but like going into it and just being able to envision in your mind, like you're building in your mind what this buck is based off of this track or these rubs, and you're just like, you have this mystical creature in your mind, even though he may be this 8-year-old bully 7-point that's coming in, but it don't matter.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
That trip was, well, you can't, like you said, you can't use trail cameras out there on public land.
Mm-hmm.
But just hunting, it's so much less aggravating than looking at a camera sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just go hunt.
Yeah, and we all love using cameras.
Oh, yeah.
But it's fun, like, because especially like you do in West Virginia and I do in Pennsylvania, there's so much else that goes into it and all the scouting and the cameras, and that's all fun in its own, but it's nice to release that sometimes and just go hunt.
But like the sign we found there and the tracks, I was like, there's pretty much only two places that he could be bedded.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing about out there is it's just so pinched. Like this sign is here.
Yeah.
And there's literally nowhere else he's going to be walking because it's just nothing on the outsides of it.
I mean,
like,
he ain't going to come from 10
you can
miles
shoot
across
from one
this cut corn. You know what I mean?
You can shoot from one side to the other of the woods.
Yeah.
So like he's coming through there.
Pretty good funnel.
Like bucks are coming through there. Like if there's hot sign, it's like you're gonna see deer if you sit there. Conditions are right.
But didn't have the wind right. What got laid on us, I think, that evening? No? Shit, I don't know.
No, the wind wasn't good. I think.
The wind wasn't good, but so we ended up taking off. And now when we're out there, I'm telling you, we're driving. Probably 120 miles was the least amount we drove a day scouting.
What was your average?
I'd say 150.
Yeah.
Every day. And some days, there was a couple days that, we'd run south 2 hours and then run right back up north 2 hours. I mean, there's some days we probably hit. Go ahead and give me a soldier.
You good, Beau?
Yeah, I'm good right now.
Thank you, sir. There's a couple days that we run 250 miles scouting.
Yeah.
But, you know that. Cole being around me now, I mean, I love doing that. And,
running gunning.
It was like turkey hunting.
And glass, and glassing and just trying to find stuff, man.
Yeah. And especially again when you haven't pre-scouted anything, you're going into this, it's your first time there. You're just trying to figure it all out, and by covering as much ground as possible, you start and then figuring out in those areas what is good sign. We were talking about that earlier, but you might go in and maybe you scout 2 areas and there's scrapes all over and stuff. It's like, oh, is this just every area just has scrapes? And then, but you find that maybe there's, this giant scrape with all these licking branches, and that's what the good sign is. But then, on another trip or another area, you don't find any scrapes, and you just find scrapes. That's considered a good sign for you because it all depends on the deer density and then how they're laying down sign. Every place is so different on what good sign looks like, but covering that kind of country and that kind of ground will help you get a better idea for that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we learned real quick what was fresh and not fresh, what's good sign, not good sign.
Yeah, we knew exactly what we wanted to find and what we had confidence in hunting.
I mean, that place Cole went into, that them boys from Michigan were hunting, I'm very confident we could have hunted that 2 days. If we'd have had a morning, evening, we would have got an opportunity at a Mooey. Not because those boys saw one, but I think there's multiple bucks. I mean, there was 2 scrapes in there. I'm not kidding you. There was 2 scrapes in there that was 8 inches
into the ground. Like craters.
They were crater scrapes. I'm not kidding you.
That's a new term we're going to have to start using.
They were in the ground 6 to 8 inches. If it had been any more rain, it'd been a bird bath. I'm telling you,
it was.
And I'm talking about
it was like nothing.
It was seen. Coffee grounds.
I was like my heart was racing when I found it, and I got back to the truck. I was like,
and I was excited too, because on the other side I found good sign. Not quite as much as he did, but like we got our stuff on and went right in there, and like I was like, man, look at this freaking crater scrape, and like it dipped down, and it was probably 3 or 4 foot in diameter.
Yeah.
And just in the ground, and you could tell, my God, how many deer's been hitting it to dig it up. I mean, they're in there plowing. And we were excited. And I really feel like if we'd had a couple days in there and didn't feel like we were.
The wind was just howling that night.
Yeah.
It just seemed like
it was
a night
probably 25 mile an hour, and it just wasn't a good evening. And we really felt, we'd even talked about it on our way in. If those boys wouldn't have pulled out so fast, we probably would have just went ahead and left, because we felt like we was infringing on them guys.
Yep.
But they was cool as hell. We actually saw one of them sitting beside the road when we come out and asked him if they needed a ride. We sat there and talked to him till his brother was getting close. And,
nice.
But we finally got into an area, and I want to talk about one thing that we noticed coming from the northwest to the east, the south, and then going back southwest. The terrain and vegetation changed so much from the northwest to the east to the southwest. Like when we got down there where we finally, we didn't know if we were going to stay down there, but when we got down there and started driving around looking where we ended up hunting the last 4 days, like there was elevation. There was a big elevation change.
Like more like rolling?
No, there was like basins and ravines.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was, there wasn't like steep ravines, but like there was, looked like ravines in the basin, like washouts. Yep. I mean, there was rock cliffs. So there was some elevation there. So when we got down there, I was like, yeah, this right here is going to do me good. This is right in my wheelhouse.
Yep.
Being able to use the terrain, hunting those flats and not being able to kind of see, but you end up screwing with us there too, because we're glassing so far.
Yep.
So we end up moving and get down in this area, and we're seeing deer. Like Cole and I are like, because we're seeing deer. Like the first evening, we see 7 or 8 deer, and it's like, yeah, we're getting in them. And then we had a morning down there. I think we saw 30 or 40 deer, and it's just like, we're in them now.
Yep.
And he spotted one. We drove through this area, couldn't find a good glassing place because we would be glassing up, and there was private around it where it got up on elevation to have like a little vantage point. So we just ended up parking the truck right beside the road and setting up tripods right there on the public road, glassing across the private on the public. And 10 minutes, Cole went shooter.
Yeah, we were kind of just sitting there messing around, not really taking anything serious. I was just looking in my 10x42s a mile away, and I saw a buck just going right up the hill, and I'm like, oh my God. And I could tell he was big just in that. And then we ended up hunting there that evening. Didn't see him. Saw a different shooter that evening.
Yeah.
So, but
we didn't. We had to walk in there because the road, we couldn't get up the road.
Yeah, the road was so muddy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, man, them roads out there, it's flat.
They're worse than any ice road, snow road that I've ever been on.
Red clay ain't got shit on slickness on their roads.
really?
Oh.
Well, yeah. Talk about that a little bit because
I forgot about losing. We lost pretty much a day of hunting because it rained. So let me I want to just circle back real fast on these roads.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about the last couple of days of the trip. The first day we get there, we don't know shit about the roads. Okay? Cole said, yeah, let's go up here and check this. Because Cole kind of the co-pilot navigator while I'm rolling. They got paved roads, they got yellow rock roads, and they got black dirt roads. Okay? I'm going to tell all your listeners, if they ever go to Kansas and it rains, use the paved roads and the yellow rock roads. That's it. Don't detour off on the black dirt road. The first morning we're going, it turns from yellow rock to dirt. And I'm like, oh, that's just dirt. And I start going down the hill. I said, damn, Cole, this is slick. What goes into a little belly and I got to go up the other side. I about got hung up in that belly. I threw mud all over my truck getting out of it. It was terrible. And you know me, I was pissed.
Oh, yeah.
So we fight it, sliding all the way around through there. Finally get turned around.
Come right back through it.
No, we didn't come back through that.
Okay.
No, we got out of there. So then we got rain like 3 days later, and we hit this other dirt road. And like I'm going out there, and it's like just little rolls. And I was like, man, Cole, it's slick. And he's like, yeah, it's real slick. So I got the top to a knob, and I was like, man, I'm just going to go ahead and walk out there and check it, and then I'll walk back. And he's like, okay. I said, just chill here. I said, it's raining. I said, we'll get out of here. I did get turned around. I got turned around real good. And so I walked out there, checked this area. Wasn't nothing. Came back. We got in the truck. So we start going down the first hill. And when I say hill, it ain't much of a hill.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a little roll. We start going down, and I mean, I'm telling you, we started just sliding everywhere. And I was trying to turn, no turning, no gassing. We were just going, and I finally told Cole, I said, Cole, I said, you should brace. I said, this ain't good.
I'm sure you said it seriously in that voice.
That's pretty calm.
Pretty calm. Yeah, that's how.
Because it was like we were going in slow motion down the hill. We were just sliding sideways. Then we could see the ditch on the
and
left side.
And we were going towards the culvert at the bottom of this dip. And it's just like an 8-foot drop off of it. And I said, you better brace yourself, Cole. I said, this ain't good. And I knew we was just going to roll over on our side, or if it didn't stop on its side, it was just going to roll on its top. And we were going. And I mean, it piled mud up and stopped us. And I said, well, maybe I can juice this out of here. And I was holding the brake and giving it a little gas and it just, every time the tires go, it just go, and it kept on creeping over. I just put it in park, and I said, golly. I said, there was a farmhouse out there. I said, I'll walk out there and see if I can't find us a tractor or something. And the first guy, I went to. He wasn't a bad guy, but he's like, I guess you're stuck out there. And I said, yeah. And he said, I wish you damn hunters would stay off the roads when it's wet. I was like, buddy, I said, you don't have to worry about it. I said, I apologize. I said, but you got a tractor or anything to pull me? He said, I don't have anything. He said, I've quit farming. He said, let me call a neighbor. Called his neighbor, friendly guy, but he couldn't be there for 2 or 3 hours. Mm-hmm. I said, we'll be back there just sitting. Well, he came and pulled us out. And we lost the whole day pretty well in that, waiting for him. But we learned our lesson. Well, we didn't really learn our lesson, but
We about got stuck an hour later doing the same thing.
Hold on a second. I missed that in the original time.
I said, we got to where it went from that yellow rock to the dirt, and I said, I wouldn't do that. And he's like, I ain't scared. And we went 20 yards and about went in the ditch.
I was
So
like,
we just
man,
backed
we
up.
got to get out of here.
Yeah.
So when we get down to that area we were hunting in, we tried to get up on top because the road kind of wrapped around, and we could have come right down a ridge and wouldn't have been bad. We ended up hiking up there, which wasn't bad either. It's not like hills back here, but we glassed and saw a buck that evening. I shit the bed on that one too. We was going through this grass. I was frantically running off that mountain because he was all the way at the bottom.
Yeah.
And we got in this high grass. It was over our head. And that noisy.
Oh, yeah. Brushing up against anything.
Well, and it's noisy against itself. And we're going through in there, and I'm just going, rawr, rawr. I'm grunting the whole way through. And we bust out the daylight side. That deer's just sitting there looking at us. And he takes off running. So, which this deer, we didn't know it at the time, but we're going to have plenty of encounters with him from now until the end of the trip.
Yeah. We got to know him well in a span of 4 days.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, hey, go ahead.
So I was going to ask about, so you're talking about like you're scouting and finding the deer and stuff, and day one I know you hung on a tree, but most of the rest of the time, are you hunting on the ground, or what was kind of like, how are you making the moves on these deer?
So we ended up getting in the tree twice.
Okay.
Because it just didn't make sense to get in the tree.
Yep.
Like, I'm not against it, but it just didn't make sense because the deer we were seeing, it would just make more sense to hunt them on the ground because the country we're in now did have really good vegetation, a lot of good cover, but it wasn't like there was thickets, that woody thickets like we're talking about, but it was just patches. There were just patches of these thickets. So it was really advantageous to hunt on the ground. One, you can cover more ground, and two, you're going to see more deer and have more opportunities.
Yeah, and that's your style that you tend to do pretty well with. Like,
and that's it's all an odds game. Mm-hmm. You're only out there for so many days, and I think that because at this time we're not seeing a lot of we're seeing bumping.
But not like full on rut active.
Oh no,
Not yet, no. But at the same time, like out there, the conditions were always so good to hunt on the ground because a lot of the times you have 10 to 15 to 20 mile an hour winds out there compared to
every 3
here.
or 4 days.
Kept it nice and quiet.
Yeah, that's the other thing I like about the out there is like when the whatever weather app you use, if it said that it was a northwest wind,
That's what.
Guess what? It's northwest wind.
Wait, it doesn't happen like that in the mountains in West Virginia?
No. Now there was a couple of places we'd get in when we get in those basins, it'd swirl a little bit, but you had to expect that. But most of the time, like it would swirl and then it'd go northwest. You know what I mean? That's the greatest thing in the world when something stays consistent.
Yeah. When you plan for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we camped there. Well, we slept at another truck stop. And the next morning, we saw that big 10.
Yeah. We glassed
And we
in the
watched
same area
him and
again.
watched him. And these deer aren't stopping. We're in the same area, but like, it's very hard when you're glassing to take off after moving deer that are 1,200 yards away, and and there's no chance of keeping eyes on them.
You're 45 minutes from getting to them.
Yeah. So we just opted just to sit back and watch them and kind of see
How they were traveling.
Yeah, learn. So, and this is the other thing. It's like the terrain. Again, it's like optical illusion when you're looking through a spotting scope from this distance, and then you're you're going back and forth between your binos and your spotter, and like we watched this deer, just for instance, that morning, and we were like, he's in the thicket. Okay. Well, then all of a sudden he appears on this side, like he traveled through the thicket. But that's not like the thicket looks like it lays on the ground. Lays on the hillside.
Okay.
Okay? Like this thicket is moving up in elevation. But we get over there, that thicket is flat as a pancake.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but learned a lot. But we watched those deer, never put anything to bed. We said, we're going to go over and hunt this evening, just get in amongst them. And
we kind of just based on where we're going to go, where the majority of the deer were traveling that morning. That buck went through there twice, and then we saw him later in the morning go down into a thicker area that was real close to where we ended up hunting.
And you saying that, I think that's something that's really important to note. Something that I've observed from hunting with you over the years and getting to see it is a lot of times, you'll sit back and you'll glass, but once you start seeing some things like, okay, there's a lot of deer moving through these areas, or I think they're bedding in here. At that point, you have enough intel for you to put yourself in the game. You've said that, multiple times, even to me when we're talking about it. It's like, well, do you just want to look at deer, or do you want to, be in it? But you don't
But there are times that you just want to look at deer.
100%. But you don't know what you don't know at first, but after you start seeing some of those patterns, that's like, okay, maybe this makes more sense to get involved in it. Like where we've been, a couple of places we've been hunting here too. It was like that. It's like, okay, we're seeing some similar trends here, but we're not able to move on them in time. So how can we position ourselves better to be in an actual kill position?
Yeah. And we figured all the deer, Cole, my compass, what direction they were moving from.
They were going from the southwest to the northeast.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the direction they were going. So we figured we would set up as close to the northeast end as we could to catch them before dark coming back to the south, because there was it was a newly planted alfalfa field. That is one good thing that they do in Kansas on public, is they got crops and cuts, and it's really nice. They put a lot of money into their public grounds. I will give them big attaboy on that. But there was an alfalfa field that was probably 6 inches.
Yeah, it was a decently freshly cut field, but just from my experience back home, the alfalfa fields are they love it, absolutely love it. Like there's deer in alfalfa fields all the time,
and I've never been around one. And Cole was like, dude, alfalfa is like the holy grail.
It is.
And I'm like, okay, dude,
let's do it.
Let's go over. So we went over and found us a place to cubby up. And I found a little, it's actually, I don't think it could have been a better setup, man.
No, it was so killer.
Just for cover for Cole. I trimmed out a little cedar bush. I trimmed me out a little piece of pie out of it going to the trunk, and I kind of just covered up in there, and then Cole was like 6-7 yards from me in a big lemmy tree.
Okay.
He wasn't in the tree. He was just at the trunk, and he took a couple dead branches and laid them up. And
I was just standing right against the tree.
And
I
I
had
tell
like
you,
a limb like this, and I just had my camera right on top of it. There's no way anything was going to see me.
Yeah.
I mean, like you couldn't hardly see him in the DJI coming back.
And you knew where he was at, too.
Yeah. And really slow. And by golly, at 5 o'clock, I looked up, and the same place those deer had moved to, here comes a doe running off the hill. I was like, Cole, doe. I said, something's pushing her. Lo and behold, it's the deer from the evening before.
Was that the Big Ten?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's not the Big Ten.
No, that's not the Big Ten that we saw that morning.
It's the busted up one that we stalked the night before. The first night we
I
went
was
in.
grunting and came out there, and he just went, I'm out.
Well, yeah, like we talked about earlier offline, the naming situation where we all call deer the
Big
I don't think
Ten
Josh
and
was
the Big
Josh
Eight.
there for it.
No.
Yeah, everything's Big Ten, and Big Eight. It's like
And we should do better.
I did. Yeah, we all do the same thing at home too, and it's all, my dad will be like, "I'm going in after the wide 10." I'm like, "Which one?" Okay,
yeah,
all right. He's like, the wide 10 I've been wanting. A little more.
Yeah. No, I mean we do that.
Yeah.
Because like this morning, I was like, Cole, we see the Big 8, and then Cole says, well, that's not the 8 one we saw. So okay.
Quick side story on that. There's the joke with Johnny Stewart that he's been chasing the Big 8 for going on 18 years now. I think that deer is an absolute dinosaur.
Oh yeah.
And everywhere we
he's
go,
probably back down to a spike.
Every time we go, we scout or we're gun hunting area. He'll be like, I think the Big 8's come through here before. I'm like, Johnny, the Big 8 was also 15 miles over here. How big's his range? He's like, oh, he's got a big range on him,
Yeah. Yeah.
It is funny how we do that.
Oh yeah. The Big 8 is such a classic.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a Big 8.
Yeah.
I think it happens with Big 8s more than anything.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
It is. And it's just, I don't know. There's something about Big 8s too.
Yeah. No, I like Big 8s.
You are a big fan of Big 8s.
Yeah. It seems like that's the only damn thing I can kill.
Hey, until last year in West Virginia, I had, not to derail the whole conversation, but I'd never killed a straight 10-point.
Really?
No, I've killed nothing but 8s and 9s. I've killed 11. I've killed a 12. I've killed a 13, and then smaller. But I've never killed a straight 10. I've killed one that would be completely broken off. I've had one that broke half his beam off. That would have been a 10. It was a 10, but just like a clean 10. That's been something that then I ended up shooting one this year in PA. But
I don't think I got a lot of big 8s.
Yeah,
And a couple 9s.
Nines are like my sweet spot. I like the.
I just think that Big 8s are impressive.
Yeah.
When an 8-point's big, by God, they're big.
Oh yeah.
But sorry about that.
Sorry, that was on me. I derailed the conversation.
But this buck comes off, and before he comes off, we hear a grunt.
Straight in front of us.
Straight, like this, straight in front of us. Mm-hmm. This deer's coming off over here.
Yeah.
So I'm watching him. Well, they kind of go away from us on this flat behind that high grass. But I see his rack across from us, like going. And I was like, he's going to bypass us. So I grunted. I think I grunted twice. Yeah. And I was like, all right. So I got my bow up, and I'm looking, and I said, Cole right here. And like, all he did was go out the other end of the thicket, 30, 40 yards.
He came peeling around like.
You hit the button on the soundboard when you pulled that cord.
Man, well, you got like a disco machine?
Yeah, you hit those buttons and you get some cool sound.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. I was like,
I didn't know what I did. I thought I screwed up the whole podcast.
No, it was like, it's like It's like deleted.
Okay. So
I'll leave that in.
so this thing circles back around, and I mean when I said Cole right here coming. I mean this deer, he's coming with his head down. He's coming to check out the grunt. He's a busted up 10, heavy. I mean, I literally thought that I was going. When he came in, I pulled back. No, he came in, and I thought that he was going to go past Colt like 3 yards.
Mm-hmm.
He was already 5 yards from Colt. Didn't see him Colt. I mean, the footage.
I'm filming through the V of the tree. The video just dropped tonight.
Yeah,
I have to watch it.
Yeah, have
Okay.
to check it out. I mean, it's the video. The footage is just sick.
Yeah, it's probably the coolest clip that I've filmed. Really, like the deer's just walking right to me, and it's just like this. This is it right here.
And like it's kind of zigzagging, and then I thought it was going to go around Cole, and I was just going. Cole was right there. Hopefully, I didn't let go while I was pulling back and stick Cole. I was going to shoot him over here, but the deer turned. I pulled back, anchor, and like the deer, it's hard quartering too because he's coming right here, and looking back on it, I think the deer comes out in the complete open in 2 more steps.
Yep.
I think that deer was out of his mind at that point, probably. But like my experience is like that deer's walking. He gets out of some cover, and he's walking, bam, and he's out. Like he sees something, then he just darts. That's what
was going through your head.
Well, yeah, that's what a lot of the times when you get deer that close, it's like you startle them, and then they either bound off or they bound off and start blowing, try to get something to move. And that's what I'm thinking is like he's got 2 steps before he's in the wide open. Going back, I think we talked about it. I was like, damn, Cole, 4 more steps, man. He's broadside to me at 7 yards on the ground. So it was my screw up. It happens, but I shot. Didn't feel good about the shot right off the bat because I didn't see my knock, and I shoot not a luminox, but nocturnals or something. I don't even know what they are, but they're knocks that light up. I didn't even see it go off, but I felt like it was a bad shot. And then I even felt worse when we see him run. And he takes off running, and Cole, staying on him. And I kind of come out of my cubby, and he stops out there probably 90 yards. And I'm like, fall over. And he didn't fall over. And then about that time I looked, and I'm looking exactly where he ran through. And I said, Cole, I got a big buck coming right at us. And he's like, oh my God. And I mean, it's sick footage too. I mean, this buck, he coming, it's the 10 point. The big 10 we saw that morning, like he's a big buck. Like he just comes waddling out there, and I've done shot this deer, so I hold my bow at my foot, and he just walks out. He stops at like 24 yards. He just has no idea.
Oh,
no idea.
It's a big deer,
and he's big. I mean, he's big to me. I mean, I think he'd be big to anybody, but he's a big deer, and we sat there and watched him walk away, and he walked up into that alfalfa, and we walked over and found a little bit of blood, and then didn't feel good about it.
No, because at that angle we both knew like.
Oh no! If you hit
them good at that angle that close, they should be dead within 100 yards.
Yeah,
usually
easy. They're either dead or living. If you don't hit the seam, and when I'm talking about a hard quartering too, between the sternum and the shoulder plate, like if you don't hit that seam, like we both know, we even talked about like you're dead or alive.
Yep.
Because if you go in there, you're going to hit us hard.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So we found a little bit of blood. I mean, nothing. I mean, a thimble full. And I was like, Cole, let's just And we had plenty of daylight. And I was like, man, let's just go back to the truck, check the footage. So we went back and he put it in Premiere and slowed it down frame for frame.
You forgot to mention that on our walk back from Last Blood, we find Josh's knock.
Oh, yeah.
We find Josh's knock 20 yards to the left of where he shot and behind him.
Me. Yeah.
Real.
That's why I didn't see, like...
It was a strobe lighted knock.
Yeah, you know how I use them disco...
Yeah, I know what
that disco light. I love them. They're called strobes, but like police strobes, but I call them the disco. I love them. But it is. It's 15, 20 yards to my left and behind me from where I shoot the deer.
Just the knock.
And like I said, hell, there's my knock.
you hit something hard.
And it never went. It never that's one thing that I was very. When I shot, I was like, man, I didn't see exactly where it hit. I didn't see my knock. I think it hung on my string. And when I shot, it.
Really?
Because you don't see it in the footage either.
Yeah, it's not in the footage.
We have three angles of it.
But it was strobing when you found it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it went off. Just didn't stay in the arrow. It's kind of weird. And I don't know if that throws me off. In the end, we go back and look at the footage, and at that time, we look at it, we send it to Zach, Jay, Thomas Crick. His brother had shot one that evening. He said, what do you think about this shot? And I said, it's funny. I said, what do you think about this shot? And he was like, he said, man, I don't know. He said, and the crazy thing was the video, the big camera was at a different angle. But our POV camera behind me had me and the deer and the shot in it. And like you could clearly see ball and socket in the shoulder.
Ooh.
Like it. And so, up to that point, it's been pretty, not tough. I mean, we've had a blast, but we're hunting very hard, sleeping in the truck, had multiple encounters with deer. And we're still just one step in front of the other, That night, I'm like, daggone, that sucks. I said, we'll check for him in the morning.
Yep.
No big deal. So we tried to sleep there. Park rangers, that night they ran us off.
Yeah.
They said we wasn't allowed to sleep there. So at 11 o'clock at night, we had to drive to the truck stop. Cole had to break his tent down because Cole at this point has gone.
Moved out to the tent because I couldn't sleep in the truck anymore.
By God.
I can't imagine why.
And
I'm sure that truck smelled good too.
No, truck was tainted. It was tainted. But the greatest thing the next morning was we're out there parked and we're at our glassing spot on that public road. Park ranger comes by and goes, hey man, you're going to have to move your truck. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning. He said, this is a hazard. We've seen one vehicle in 3 days. He's like, this is a hazard. It's unsafe. And I was like, okay, I'll move. Well, as I moved. We talked to him a little bit. Cole walks up there with me to talk to the ranger, and then we're walking back. He leaves. We're walking back to our tripods. And as we're walking back to the tripod, we see a doe run. I said, Cole, deer just run across about 800 or 900 yards. And we end up getting spying her, and it was a doe. And then I was like, man, there's another deer down there on the right side of the road. We look. It's the deer I shot at 10:15 in the morning. Happy as hell. You know what I mean?
Yep. Because
the greatest thing you can. I mean, he's not out. You're not sitting there thinking he ain't out there wounded.
Yep.
And you could clearly see in the spot because we looked, and Cole was like, "Is that deer you shot?" I said, "I got the spot and scope. Look, you can see a hole right here." I said, "Absolutely."
Yeah, he was perfectly fine. I mean, he'd lick it every now and then,
Yep.
but you could tell he wasn't out of it or hurting or really anything.
Watched him bed down.
Right off the road, 40 yards.
Right off the road. I'm serious. Watched him bed. KP again was in the area. Came over and spotted. I mean, I'm talking about like we can look back at KP now.
Yep.
And he's spotting by 11:30. We're 30 yards from him.
Yeah.
By 11:45, I'm 20 yards from him, and Cole's 25. Where we think he is. Mm-hmm. He's in this maybe a 50 by 10 or 15 yard thicket. Like we stand there for a while, waiting for movement. Nothing. We throw rocks in this thicket. Because again, lay of the land. Where we were glassing, looked like we were looking at that thicket horizontally. When we got down there, that thicket run vertical. Okay?
Yeah.
So we're trying to throw him over the thicket to make him sound like that over there so he'll bounce out over here. I mean, Cole throws a rock 6 inches in diameter. Broke the top out of a tree.
Smacked it. It had to have been less than 10 yards from him where it hit. Like, loud.
No. Yeah. I'm standing there, man, just ready to draw. Nothing. Grunt. Nothing. 2 hours later, no movement. And I'm standing behind him. At this time, Colt's come up to me. He's up to my tree. We're standing there. I'm like in my gut. And I kept on saying it. Like, I know he's in there. But after all this racket, throwing rocks, and I swear, some of the rocks we threw had to land 5-10 feet from him. And like, Cole was like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "Man," I said, "I don't know." I said, my gut is telling me he's right there. I said, but my mind is doubting. How do you make that much noise
and not blow out,
and a deer not
even stand up?
Not even stand up.
We would have heard him stand.
2.5 hours, he never even moved, and he's in that woody thicket I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And so now Cole's up with me, and we're talking about it, and it's like, after all this racket, you think a deer hold that tight? I was like, well, I mean, we're both asking each other a question, and I'm telling Cole, I said, well, he's wounded. I said, he might be tired. I said, maybe he's just in there resting, And then it's like, could he have squirted out the back door?
Yeah, now all these things are playing through.
Yeah, because and then it's like, Cole, when I was putting my stuff on and you were on the glass watching the deer, did you watch him every second, every minute? And he was like, no. He's like, when I was putting my stuff on and you were watching him, was you able to watch him every second of every minute? I was like, no. I said, do you think? And then I asked Cole, I was like, you think KP, come out of the glass and he snuck out the back door on us? He's like, dude, I don't know. He said, we're close. I mean, we're 20 yards at this point.
Yeah.
And I said, well, and we both decided, if we're going to hunt somewhere that afternoon, we need to go. Or we're going to be sitting here. At this point, we're hunting a deer that's not laying there. So we moved up to another cedar bush that was like 5 more yards. Nothing. And we didn't have a constant wind. If we'd had a constant wind, I think we honestly could have made it to the edge of the thicket and been 5 yards from that deer, because he couldn't see out and we couldn't see in. But because of doubt, we got to what 12.
About 10, 12 yards.
Yeah.
And he jumped.
I got
And we're like,
lackadaisical.
oh my God, there he is.
I took a step without a wind, just got lazy, and it was just a smidgen of a crunch. And by God, there he come. I said, there he
That got him up out of the bed.
Yeah, I said, there he is, Cole. Cole said, yeah, there he is. He went out there, and he didn't see us. All he did was hear us because he just went out there 40 yards. And
You can see in KP's footage when he bounds off, he's not even looking at us. He's looking the other way. He didn't know where it came from.
yeah.
Interesting.
And so he bounds out there, and I was like, ah. And like, it's just like, it's like Tyson hitting you. Not at 58, at 25. He didn't hit very hard at 58, or I still wouldn't let him hit me.
No.
But that's what I felt like at this point. Like, this trip's starting to beat me up a little bit, sleeping in the vehicle and just everything, the encounters and chances. And I know Cole's working hard and Cole was a great partner on the trip because he hunts just as hard as I do. And, we have good conversation about strategies, and it's not like we're getting on each other's nerves.
Yep. Keeping a positive attitude.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
You can't hunt with someone.
That's one thing that is huge on that trip. And Cole and I talked about it on the way back. Is keeping that.
Yeah. There's not many guys you can sleep in the truck with for 10 days.
No, and Josh and I had talked about this, and I've talked about it on here before, but when you do trips like that are mentally difficult as equally as, physically difficult, it wears on you, and you better pick the right people to be with, because otherwise then you just get one person that's negative or starts, oh, well, this hasn't worked before, and saying that stuff. That can ruin, then it gets in your own head. As mentally tough as you think you are, it gets in your head just being around that negativity, and it can make you not hunt when you think you should, that you should be hunting, or you can make a different decision. Just, there's so many things that having a good hunting partner helps out with.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is like just keeping a good perspective on it, because like at times it's going to get tough on trips when you're tired and stuff, but you're also on a hunting trip, which is an absolute blast, like that most people don't get to do.
Yep.
Like you got to keep that in perspective, that it is mentally draining, it's physically draining, but you're getting to do something that you love and that not a lot of people get to do.
Yeah.
So you really should never have a negative attitude about it, because you get to go hunting instead of go to work.
I love that. Yeah.
I mean, that helped out tremendously, especially about, and it wasn't really ups and downs, because the only like downer I had was the shoulder blade.
Yep.
But like when we saw him the next day, even though he got away, like it was okay.
Yeah, you felt better about it. You had kind of some closure on the situation, being like, all right, he's going to live to see another day.
Yeah, and so I think when traveling with somebody, I think that Cole kept me around because I cooked. You know what I mean?
Okay.
If it was having to sleep in the truck and stuff, he'd probably ditch me back in Kentucky.
Probably would have just slept underneath the truck.
Yeah. But my cooking saved me. But next day it poured the rain. It had a northeast wind. Didn't really want to hunt on the ground because we'd been in there a couple of days. We were like, hey, man, we got that northeast wind we're talking about.
Yeah.
Let's run back up north and hunt that big sign. He was like, yeah, let's do that. So we go in there, pouring rain, 42 degrees, 25-mile-an-hour winds, and we sit in the rain all afternoon. Saw scrub, and like we were drenched. Cold. I mean, I got a little bit chilly that night.
I wasn't.
No.
I had that jacket on.
Yeah. That borrowed jacket. I wasn't cold. I think it was just like the water coming down my neck had got my base layers wet, because I don't like wearing a hood.
Yep.
Because I think it's just a terrible shape, silhouette. But like up to that point, it was day 9 that we'd been gone, but it'd been, 13, 14 days since the start of Kentucky that we'd left. And I was like, Cole, we're going home tomorrow, no matter what. Now, we might come back next weekend.
Yeah.
But we're going home tomorrow. I said, tonight we're going to the motel. So we went to the motel that night, got to take a shower, dry our clothes, ate a hot meal. And it's like, morally, it's like, last day, let's get after it. I said, and he was like, what do you want to do? I said, we're just going to go straight over there where we've been seeing a deer and get right amongst them.
Mm-hmm.
And by God, it was like a light switch went off on rut activity.
Yeah, we got in there and it was just like, oh my God.
Deer.
Spotted the Big Ten in the first, as soon as it got light, he was on the hillside with a doe. I don't know, 200 yards away probably.
Yeah. And then we kind of said, we're going to sneak up and around on him. We never even made it to him.
Ran into a bunch of deer. Found a little hidden, I don't even know, like a little hidden cove.
Yeah.
That we never knew was there on the map
Like it
or
don't
from
even,
glassing.
it don't even hardly show you any elevation on the map. Like but it's like tore up in there.
Yeah. When
Like-
you think about deer sign, you couldn't, I've never seen a place like that.
Like that thicket I was telling you about where we thought the 10-point went through.
Yeah.
He didn't go through that 10-point. He didn't go through that. He went around the back. That's how we learned it was flat.
Ah.
He went around the back of it. And when he went around the back of it, it opened up into deer heaven.
It looked like cattle trails in there.
I mean, it was phenomenal.
What made it so good, do you think? Like what
Hidden.
was
Hidden and 2 drains dumped right down into it.
Okay.
And that's where all the deer were traveling. And then
mean-
it pinched down and then it funneled out into the
So the
alfalfa.
funnel and the hidden part.
Yeah, and
for
you
the most
can't.
part.
So
You can't
and-
glass
and-
it or see it or really.
that's the funny thing is when you're glassing. Now I could go see it now because I know it's there. Mm-hmm. But when you're glassing from that distance, you got this roll that goes in so the ravine kind of goes this way, open, but it looks like it's just a low saddle in the ridge, and then it turns up here. But this hill blends in with the backside hill, and there's no hard edge there that you can see. So you think it just blends in? It's just one hillside.
Ah, okay.
But we got back there, and we ended up circling up that 10-point, heard a huge grunt down the hill from us. So we said, let's run back down here. That's that 10-point. He already got past us. So we're running down there and hear 2 bucks clash and start fighting. So we run over the edge to listen to them. And
That ends up being 2 shooters.
yeah, it was
big
2
bucks.
shooters. One busted up old deer. I mean, he come out. All he had was 2 main beams. Everything else busted off.
Tank.
I mean, and it looked like arms.
Yeah.
He might have had a couple points. He did have a couple points, but it did look like he just had 2 big, long main beams. Everything else was busted. And I was like, man, I want to see what done that to him. And he ran off, and then this big, tall 8-point come out. Really, really nice deer. I mean, nice deer. And I was like, man, he jacked that deer up because that deer was running off from him. And then, but dude, the deer that was grunting on our side, we finally seen what it was. It wasn't a Big 10. It was a mega. He run down through the basin, and he started walking up there. And as soon as that 8-point saw him, he was
Out of there.
out. And we were like, oh, my. Oh, my. And we didn't have a perfect wind. We had a south wind, so it's blowing down the hollers. That's why we were going down the holler to come back up.
Oh, okay.
And 2 does ended up coming out of there from that 8-point and took that big buck. God knows where.
Yeah, I don't know. He went running somewhere after a doe.
Yeah.
But we didn't really think about him. It was just like there's 3 shooters within a couple hundred yards of us still.
Yeah, at that point.
Yeah, so we just they kind of started wrapping the bull, and we kind of just got up on the ridge, and we're just going to try to start moving towards them, really.
Our thing was if we get to the head with them, with that south wind blowing down the bowl, if we get to the head of it, it's a shorter distance to get across, and we could probably use a crosswind instead of trying to catch up with them from behind.
Yep.
We were just going to use a crosswind, which I like hunting with a lot better.
Yep.
And it actually almost worked because he bumped the doe up out of there, that big 8 did, and I was like, this is perfect, Cole. Like, this could work if they kind of circle this bow. We're going to circle it with them, and we're going to have a crosswind, and we might run head and eyes into them.
Yeah, and they were in the mood that you just had to get in there and make a little bit of noise, and
Yeah, I mean,
You're gonna be in
it was
there.
like crazy light switch rut.
Rut just turned on.
Oh, it's been a long time since I've seen that. And we're standing there looking, and he runs back down in the basin, and we couldn't see down there. And it was like 2 or 3 minutes. I heard a grunt, and I just kind of rolled my head up, and we were one level over under the top of that rim, and I kind of looked up, and there's a buck standing up there, and I'm like,
Like on the skyline?
yeah, I was like, he's right here, Cole. I was like, I got him. And so it was a couple minutes, and then he kind of turns, and it looks like he's walking away. And I said, perfect wind, Cole. I said, come on, we'll run. And so
he's only like 70 yards at this point.
yeah, so I take off chugging up the hill. And we got, we're hugging these looks like cedar bushes, spruce trees, firs or some shit. And I'm going around one, and Cole said, stop, Josh, stop. He's right. I went, what? He said, he's right here. And I said, where? He said, right there. And I kind of rolled my eyes up. And I said, damn, he is right there.
He's right in the same spot that he was.
Yeah, he never moved. All he did was like take a step and circle back. I was
Okay.
like, damn. Now he's looking at us, but he don't know what we are. And I'm looking at him, and I'm just like, all right. And then he did start walking off and down where he come from, and I thought he was going to show up like on the skyline on that point,
Yep.
and I was going to shoot him there, but I was like, Cole, you see him? And it was like just a few seconds. Cole said, yeah, he's coming right at us. I said, where? He said, right behind that bush in front of us. And then finally I seen his horns, and then, every frontal shot I take, I'm like, oh, another frontal shot. I do. And this deer comes around this bush, and I was already pulled back, and I was settled, and he came around this bush, and I put it right where I was aiming, and like I hit here in the front left, and I turned around, Cole, and I said, and like I was deflated.
Because you thought you made another shoulder hit.
Oh yeah, I mean it's on the video.
Yeah, it'll be in the video.
I mean, I turned
goes,
around.
I just shoulder shot him again.
I was like, I just shoulder shot him again. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I was like, come on, and we ran up to the point because it's open thick. I was hoping to catch you, see where he's running.
Yeah.
Well, I got up there with nothing. But we know there's a big thicket over there because that's where the Big 10 was that morning.
Yep.
Well, we're up on this little point. Next thing you know, we see an 8-point, the Big 10, and a doe comes out. That Big 10 comes out, and the 8-point comes out. I said, come on, we'll run up here to the top, see if we watch them, see where they go, then we can come down and track a deer. So we ran up to the top, don't know where they went. And so we come back down. I said, let's look for the deer. Cole was getting ready to run out of battery. I mean, it had been nonstop since daylight.
Yeah, I couldn't close the camera or stop recording.
And there was no way. I mean, we had an extra battery. There's no way we were going to make it all day.
Yeah.
And then I was like, hey, let's look for the deer. If we don't do any good, we'll go back, charge a couple batteries, look at the footage, make a decision. And like within 10 yards, I found my arrow. And we measured it with the other arrows, and with it, we got about 9 or 10 inches of penetration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Cole and I both looked at each other, and I was like, hey, dude, there's 2 options. Cole said he's dead or he's alive. That's it. And we both agreed that was plenty enough penetration to hit his heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looked like we watched the footage back, and it looked like it was almost like identical to where he shot the one 2 days before. But with that penetration, we're like, there's no way it hit that shoulder again.
I mean, it was almost identical. And we looked for blood. I mean, I'm talking about it's a speck, and I can't see where the nickel.
I wasn't gonna say it, but
Oh no, Cole is on like hands and knees, and he says, "Josh, blood." Like I'm thinking I'm gonna go back there to a hat puddle or something. And I'm looking. I say, "Where, Cole?" Right there. Where, Cole? Like he goes down through the grass and puts his finger on a speck on a blade. And I'm like, Jesus, Joseph and Mary. Another 10 yards, he finds another speck. There's no way that I would have seen either one of them unless I put my readers on and got all the way down, like inspecting. And I said, "Come walk down this barbed wire fence and see if he crossed there," because he'd have to jump it. It was a 3-strand. I walked the whole barbed wire fence, which goes over to that thicket. Walked back. I said, "I ain't seen nothing." He said, "I got blood here." So we get around the point, and like we're probably 40 yards, and I start glassing, and I'm looking. I was like, "Cole, it don't make no sense that deer ran this way, and them two." That deer has jumped those other deer out of that thicket.
mm-hmm.
And I start glassing. I said, Cole, big buck bedded down right here. Big buck. I went, huh? I said, Cole, he ain't moving. I thought it was another big buck bedded down. I wasn't even putting, I didn't even have enough confidence at that point that, there was any chance that was my deer that I shot. But then I was like, hey, Cole. He ain't moved. I said, that's my deer. That's the deer I shot. Like he was passed out or something.
Yeah.
So he went a total of probably 90 yards.
Yeah.
Hard shot.
Dead right away.
Yeah.
Again, that's with those shots. It's like dead or alive. You can tell a lot sooner of like what it's going to be. It's not like, okay, you hit him back in the guts, he's going to die, but I don't know if I'm going to find him sort of deal. That makes sense.
Yeah, so biggest bodied deer I've ever seen. Of course, I've not hunted a lot of Midwest. I've not hunted any Midwestern states.
Those tank.
Yeah.
Old deer.
So we quartered him up, packed him out, left there at 2:30, drove all night long. Got back to West Virginia at 5:45.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm pretty sure Cole went hunting that evening.
Yeah.
And I hunted with Brody that evening. I went in and was going to wake Brody up to hunt that morning.
Yeah, Mac and I hunted that evening.
Yeah,
I was gonna.
We got in at 5:45 and I woke up at 9. Mac showed up at 9:30, and we were back to hunting that evening and then last week, and then we got in, last week, and we're not going to circle back on West Virginia because we got to wake up early tomorrow and hunt West Virginia.
Yeah.
So it was a great, Kansas was a great experience for me.
Yeah, and I loved that because we've been talking. I've done a decent amount of Western trips, not necessarily Kansas whitetail, but you loving that spot and stock style and getting to really put yourself in country where you can optimize your skill set and what you love to do is just like I loved hearing about it, and I talked to you a few times.
I would go back and glass, and I would give up my time to go back and spot and glass for somebody in our group.
Yeah.
100%.
Good thing you put in our group, otherwise you'd be getting a bunch of messages. Someone gets the tag, they'd be like, Josh.
Yeah, you come out and help? No. No. For a fee?
Yeah.
Yeah, for a fee, I come glass. Do something I love to do.
Yeah. No,
But it was. I mean, Cole did great. It was a great trip with Cole. I mean, having, like I said before, having somebody there that hunts as hard as you do, that stays positive through all the weather, all the mistakes that I made, And you know, your cameraman, especially having, you know, you got a cameraman there or your hunting partner, when you're making mistakes, they can get aggravated.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because of the not the unsuccess, but just the mistakes of like, man, what could have been, what should have been. And that's not how it is. I mean, it's hunting. And if you're in the woods enough, you're going to make mistakes, and you better learn from them. And and then you're going to make more mistakes, and you stay after it, and you don't think about it. I mean, there's no reason. Johnny was saying today when we was talking to him, no reason to cry over spilled milk. You know,
No,
it's over with.
Yeah.
But Cole was
Learn from it, move on.
He was very complimentary to me hunting and staying positive himself, and we laid down great footage and successful hunt.
And everyone at the time of this coming out, everyone can go watch those hunts on the Untamed YouTube channel. So
4 videos.
4 videos.
Action.
Yeah, we could have made. We honestly could have made probably 7 to 8 videos.
Really, just that's awesome.
Yeah. We figured people would get tired of watching the non-kill stuff, just the action-packed stuff, you know, just the regular deer rutting stuff and big bucks and stuff. We figured people would get tired of that. So
Dude, you listen to that sales.
Yeah,
that's good.
So we just stuck with 4 because we threw 3 of those boring videos in, and then we're going to stuck a kill on the end.
Well, I'm just impressed the fact last time we did a podcast was Cole's first week on the job as the full-time.
It was.
Yeah.
Full-time camera guy, full-time keeping Josh in line, full-time Josh's emotional support system. You got a lot of tasks here, and he's still here. You haven't run him off.
Trying to wake Zach up in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, he's
You can't. Hopefully, your bonus isn't on making that happen.
He wears a lot of hats.
It's me and Zach joked this week because I ended up being late a couple times this week just from weird stuff happening. Zach wanting me to be there on time, and there was probably 5 days in a row that either Zach or I was not on time. Like he waited for me for 45 minutes one day, and then I went to his house and sat in his driveway for an hour because he completely wasn't awake, and I was calling him, and I'm calling him. Then he finally wakes up.
The amount that Zach does that, and I don't care that he's not here. I'm still gonna say it because
he's a warm legger.
I haven't been here when Zach showed up on time.
It's not very often.
The first day I ever hunted with Zach was second day of Kentucky season, and he was supposed to pick me up at 5:00 in the morning, and he showed up at 7:30.
I just
full daylight when he got me. We still killed the turkey that day though.
Yeah.
The first day we turkey hunted together.
Yeah, you were late.
I didn't get they run one whole ridge. Never heard a bird, by God, and I showed up. I said, boys, let's go find one.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you're still sticking around, Cole. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, being on time is one. I mean, sometimes it matters, but a lot of the time, just get out there and hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the time, it really doesn't all that benefit you being in there super early if you aren't. Is what it is.
That's right.
No reason to stress about it.
Yeah. Well, and today you got yourself a fresh haircut.
Yeah.
So you're ready for the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, you're big time in it now, Cole.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, I had a great trip too.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is like a little bit of an up and down, but like I said before, you get to go hunting every day. So there's really no reason. Something goes wrong, you get to go hunting again the next day, and something great might happen that day because you didn't fill the tag the day before.
Yeah.
We had that great rut experience, and if you would have killed that deer 3 days early, we would have never had that experience.
That is the right attitude.
Oh no, that's the only way you can look at it if you're hunting.
And the last thing I'll say about that is, like, isn't it funny though? Like when you have trips like that, like they are, like you said, it's awesome just to be able to do it, and that's great. But they are hard to an extent from a physical and a mental standpoint and everything. They're hard to be able to endure through it. And sometimes when you're done, like you're like satisfied, like, oh, I'm kind of glad that's over with. But it doesn't take, for me at least, by the time I'm 2 hours into my drive on the way home, it's like I'm thinking about coming back. Like,
That's
how can
what
I?
we were talking about. We're like, God, can you imagine what it would be like in there tomorrow?
Yeah.
No, I was like, I said, man, I said, I was really thinking about staying in Glassing for KP. And I said, can you just imagine that place? And he's like, oh, I know. I mean, hell, I want to stick around just glass and film.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I knew shit was just going to be off the hook.
Yeah.
You know, but we were very happy to get home.
And that's like the kill is great, but that's not what it's about.
No.
You know, because we were like thrilled about the kill, and then we were like, God, I can't even imagine what it'd be like to hunt in there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like just the experience of being there, and then the rut and the new country that we were in.
Yeah. And not because we're not going into the whole West Virginia thing, but it's funny. I've been here for, 4 or 5 days now. Yeah. I think I've really only hunted like truly for myself like a day and a half. Like,
oh yeah, you hunted Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, but
Saturday was a scouting day too.
Yeah, and Sunday, you know, and I think it was Sunday. Gary, shot his, and I love it. Like, I got, you know, just like being able to be a part of all that stuff going on. Yeah. I'm having a freaking blast. And I love being around with other people that are just as excited for it and being
that's the great part is hunting with people that when you have 4 guys out there and nobody cares who shoots, it's just like if we get one, that'll be great for everybody.
Yep.
That's the best part.
Sitting around, man, and telling that stories and having a beer. It's been really enjoyable the last week, you know, with the other guys being here and Beau coming down. I mean, that is the greatest thing about hunting is, for me. I mean, I like, everybody likes killing stuff. I love it, but being there in those moments, you know, before the kill or after the kill, those are the ones that really matter. I mean, the kill is just such a blink of time.
Yeah.
But all the other shit is what you're going to talk about.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know. When you were telling me the story before we were doing the podcast of Kansas, I was like, man, I wish I was there because I could hear the battle cry. I could hear it after.
There was a pheasant hunter. It was the opening day of pheasant season. Okay?
Yeah. I'm sure he thought we were dying up there.
Oh, no doubt that he thought that one of us fell on an arrow or something. And we got back because we decided to go back and get meat bags and stuff and drop some stuff and come back up and quarter him up and pack him out. And we're walking back and the pheasant hunter's there and what did he say? She said you stabbed you a good one up there?
Yeah, something like that.
It wasn't did you shoot a good one or anything? He said something. He said, did you get stab you a good one up there? And I said, yeah. I said, a pretty decent buck. He said, yeah. You know, they have a little accent out there. And he said, I heard. And I'm sure he did. He probably thought, what in the hell is going on up there? Because as soon as I figured out that deer wasn't bedded, man, I was kind of, you know, it was just like, just emotions take over on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, yeah, everyone go check out the videos over on the Untamed YouTube channel. Make sure you give these guys a follow, Instagram, Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, all the stuff. Is the website, the untamedhunt.com.
Yeah.
Go check it out. Bunch of merch stuff over there. Go, check all that stuff out. And man, I appreciate you guys taking the time here. We'll cover the West Virginia stuff in more detail at some point here, but we need to finish the hunt, and we can't be doing what we did last year and staying up till 1:00 in the morning doing podcasts.
We did do that. Yes. Did we kill a deer the next day?
I did.
Yeah. So maybe
I'd rather get some sleep. Though.
Yeah.
We can still kill a deer with some sleep.
We got to get up
Some
early.
young guys need all kinds of sleep. I always appreciate you having me on, dude. And I always enjoy talking to you.
Thanks, Josh. Cool.
Yeah, it was a good time.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We will see you next week.
Go check out Beau Martonik OnlyFans page. I hear it's getting a lot of traffic.
All right, bye. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with your buddies. Leave us a rating, a review, and subscribe. If you want to check out more content like this, there's plenty in the links below. We truly appreciate having you guys along with us.